For this activity, we will be working with a program called GeoGebra. Before beginning with your coordinates, please make sure you have watched the 2D coordinates plane video and the coordinate plane interactive challenge, which can be found on the LMS. Both links can be found using the document Directions for Part 4, which is located in Google Classroom. Once you have read and watched both videos, please make sure that you launch GeoGebra. Before beginning placing any coordinates onto your coordinate plane, there are a few settings we need to make sure are correct. First, you should have a graphics window. If your graphics window is not identified, please go to the View option and select Graphics. You should also have an algebra browser located on the left-hand side. If your algebra browser is not there, again select View and select Algebra. Before beginning, we want to identify our first file by saving this. So we'll go to File, Save As, and we are going to title this as My First Challenge _ your last name. Please make sure that the file location is located in your H drive or student ID. Once you have typed in the name, go ahead and click Save to make sure your file is saved in the correct location. From here, we are going to follow Step 9 on the Directions for Part 4 activity. Under Step 9, there are steps A through G, which will allow us to create two-dimensional shapes. For parts A and B, we will be creating two coordinates and linking them together using a line segment. For part D, we will then place a perpendicular line. So let's start by adding our first point. What we will want to do is select point A up at the top of the toolbar. This will allow us to place a point on our coordinate grid. Select point, and using your x-axis, which is your horizontal axis, and your y, which is your vertical. So we are going to place two coordinates, 8 and 3. The first coordinate is always your x-axis. So we are going to go over to the 8, and we are going to go up 3. Notice how I cannot see the number 3. So by zooming in, it will then bring into view the number 3. So 8, 3. Make sure you get this as close as possible. Once you place your coordinate in your algebra browser, you can see that my point is not exactly on the 8 and 3 coordinate. By clicking on them, we can edit that 7.8 and make it 8, and the 2.9 and make it 3, and hit enter. I now have a point A, which is located at 8 and 3. For part B, I'm going to add point B with coordinates 10 and 5. Again, I can edit in my algebra browser to make them 10 and 5, enter. We now have 2 points which we are going to link together using a line segment. On the toolbar, you have the line. You have a line and you have a segment. The segment option will allow you to link points A and B, but it will not pass through those points. So for this activity, we are going to use the line tool. Select point A, select point B, and you now have a line segment that passes through both A and B. For part D, we are going to go ahead and draw a perpendicular line segment to line segment AB. So we will use a fourth option on our toolbar, which is a perpendicular line. For this activity, we are going to use a perpendicular bisector. Again, you will select point A and point B to create the bisector. You now have two line segments that are perpendicular to one another. This will bring us down to part E, which is going to have us draw a square with 4 vertices. On the toolbar, we're going to select the polygon tool. You have a regular polygon and just a polygon. We're going to use the polygon tool for this. The first vertice is 5 and 0. Notice in my algebra window that point 5 and 0 has selected, so I do not need to edit those coordinates. The next set of coordinates for point D will be 5 and 5. Notice how the lines are already connected. Algebra window shows me that my points are 5 and 5. My next set of coordinates is 0 and 5, and then down to 0 and 0. Notice that my square is still not connected. In order to fully constrain our shape, we need to go back to the first point, which is point C, and select it. We now have a square. For part F, we need to change the color and the opacity of the square. This is the extent on which the shape is transparent. So we can change the color by selecting our icon. If you cannot see the color or the transparency, please click the down arrow next to graphics. Change it to any color you would like, and then select again to change the opacity. Please make this a solid color. We now have a blue square that meets all 4 vertices. For the last part, part G, we are going to draw a circle that has a center of 2.5, 2.5, and a radius of 1. So on the toolbar, we will select circle with a center through a point, and then we want to select circle with a center and radius. We will find the 2.5, the 2.5. It will then ask us for a radius, which will be 1. Click OK. And in our algebra window, we need to make sure that we have these selected as 2.5 and 2.5. You may have to select the Move tool before selecting your coordinates. Enter. You now have a circle with a center point on 2.5 and 2.5. Once you have completed this, you will want to save this document. File, Save. Now, before submitting this document, there are a few functions that you need to look at. Under the graphics window, it shows you 4 features that we can hover over. Each one of us shows us what each option does. In your document, please be sure to list those functions as they show in your graphics window. Now, after we have saved this document, what we will need to do is we are going to go ahead and do a screenshot of this. What you can use is what we call a snipping tool. If you click on the Start menu in the bottom left-hand corner, and in the Search Program and Files, type in Snipping Tool, you will have an application that pops up. This will allow you to take a screenshot. Click New. Everything will gray out.
Please come to the front office.
From there, draw a box around your square and your line segments. This will take a screenshot of your application. In your engineering notebook, after you have filled out the style bar functions, under My First Challenge, we are going to go ahead and insert that image. To insert that image, you can hit Control V, and that image will be placed. Click Save and Close, and for My First Challenge, you will have your application complete. For our next activity, we will be doing solid shape activity with your puzzle cube. This will be demonstrated in another video.